What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Genesis 7 here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my thoughts and impressions on Soul Hackers 2 so far. But before we get into that, there's a couple of things I want to get out of the way. First, I want to shout out Atlus with providing me with a review code, though this will not affect anything I say going through this video. Second, I want to address the contributing factors to you clicking on this video, which is the thumbnail and the title. Is Soul Hackers 2 average? I'm just going to answer that outright for those you want to know. Yes, and then some. So if that's what you came for, thank you for coming on by, and I'll catch you on the flip side. For those that want to see how I came to that conclusion, please stick around and all will be revealed. And the final third thing before we get into the thoughts and impressions is I like to kind of give you my history with a franchise so you know where I'm coming from when I'm talking about certain things. And in this case, it's Shin Megami Tensei. That journey began with me with Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita. I then played Persona 5, which became my favorite game under the Shin Megami Tensei umbrella. I then played Persona 5 Royal because I enjoyed that game so much. I then wanted to check out the core Shin Megami Tensei games. So Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD came around. It was a great opportunity for me to play it. And just recently I played Shin Megami Tensei 5 on the Nintendo Switch. So that is my kind of brief history, so you know the games I've played and you know the perspective I have of the series. So let's get into the thoughts and impressions. I want to start off with the story. I'm just going to read a brief synopsis before I go into my kind of non-spoilery thoughts of the story so far. Amidst the glimmer of neon lights, technological advancement causes humans to be consumed by commercial convenience. In the shadows, a war between Yatagarasu and the Phantom Society is brewing, devil summoners who harness the otherworldly powers of demons. Existing in a secret sea of humanity's data, a digital hivemind has evolved into a sentience, Aion. Observing humankind from afar, Aion calculates that the world-ending disaster is imminent and creates two agents to combat against it, Ringo and Figue. Together, these agents of Aion must investigate and prevent a butterfly effect that will lead to the end of the world. So in typical Shin Megami Tensei fashion, it's kind of like your end of the world setting. This is in like more of a futuristic kind of Japan by the looks of it. Very beautiful looking, by the way. We'll talk about graphics when we go over to that section of the video. But for the story, I don't really have anything to speak highly of it so far. I think where it shines is its characters. Like the games that have come before it, it does kind of like have a social element to it to kind of get to know your characters, gain points that can unlock certain skills which will be linked to the gameplay, which we'll also talk about later. But I think that's where it shines. The story hasn't really hooked me as of yet. I'm probably about 20 hours in so far. The hooks haven't hooked me. The characters are definitely kind of engaging so far, and I'm liking their kind of like backstories. Also, I've got to quickly shout out the voice acting. I've been playing it in English, and I've got to say that English voice acting is really good. It has helped to kind of get me to acknowledge the story so far, and again, it's a very big contributing factor to me liking these characters. So I briefly touched on graphics and how beautiful kind of like the game looked, like the city, these futuristic Japan, and I might as well kind of knock out graphics in general. This is probably the most beautiful Shin Megami Tensei game, well, under that umbrella, that I've played. I'm playing this on the performance mode on the PlayStation 5, so I might not be getting 4K, but I'm definitely getting that 60 frames per second, and that's good enough for me. The character models look awesome, the enemies have looked the best they have, again in an SMT game, and the environments are just kind of jaw-dropping at times. So I've got nothing but praise for the graphics. I'm going to quickly talk about music before we build up to talking about gameplay. And like most SMT soundtracks, this definitely has its fair share of bangers, like the opening theme in particular. I'm really liking the comp store theme. This should be playing in the background. I like it so much. But some of them are quite underwhelming as well, so it's definitely a mixed bag of music in this game. It never kind of overstays its welcome, and there are a few themes that you're going to be hearing a lot, as this is at its core a dungeon crawler. So let's talk gameplay. This is what's led me to the conclusion so far of Soul Hackers 2 being average and then some. So like most SMT games, I'll kind of get the basis out of the way. You go and crawl around dungeons. Sometimes this can be repetitive. And I've got to be honest, when I first started playing it, I really couldn't get into the gameplay. I think it may have been because I came off the cuffs of putting on 150 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and that being more of like a more of a fast-paced game compared to this. I think going on to this as soon as I finished that did definitely dampen the gameplay for me. So I kind of like pushed it to the side, and then I've picked it up again, and now I'm enjoying what it has to offer, and knowing it being a SMT game, that it is going to be much slower than a game like Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I wanted to get that out of the way because I did not get on with it at first, but now the gameplay, again, it's dungeon crawling, you're going around towns, you are going around shops, upgrading. Obviously you have the typical SMT fusion system there. You have requests and missions scattered across all of the places on the map, and then of course you've got certain locations and moments to kind of interact with your characters and get to know them more, increase those social points. So what do I want to touch on first? I think I want to touch on battling first, because if you've played an SMT game, you know what to expect, and this is very akin to all of those games. You go against the demons have a weakness. If you can exploit that weakness, you then will get a bonus attack. In this game it's called a Sabbath, very similar to like the all-out attacks in Persona 5. So essentially, if you were to get, you got 4 characters, if you were to hit a weakness, your demon shadow will kind of float above the enemy. If you can do that for all 4, obviously that Sabbath attack is going to dish out some serious damage and help you along. If you just get 1, it's going to do a little bit of damage, but it's definitely something that adds to the battle system and makes you want to exploit those weaknesses, because that's what these SMT games are all about. If you can't exploit that weakness, you can have a tough time. So you are going to be wanting to experiment with different demons, and there'll be certain demons you want to use in certain battles and certain demons that you want to use in other battles. But I do like having that Sabbath attack, especially when you can hit weaknesses 4 times in a row and unleash an insane amount of damage to help you along. Talking about Sabbath attacks, I've just unlocked something quite recently where certain demons will have like a Sabbath additional attack. So if they are active within the Sabbath attack, that they have a chance that they might use an additional ability. So for example, I've got Jack Frost, and he has an ability that may trigger, and if it does, you have to press a certain button that pops up, and he will heal HP for the party, which is very beneficial. So if I'm going against enemies that are weak against ice attacks, there is a chance that I'm going to get a free heal in the Sabbath attack, which is great, and I like these additions, and I can only imagine that this is going to increase as I progress further in the game. So that's kind of battles in a nutshell. Let's take it back and talk about how to get in those battles, and that's the dungeon crawling. The dungeon crawling is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. They might find it repetitive, things may look the same, they might not want to go back to previous dungeons they've gotten, but this is kind of where the meat of the game is. This is what you need to be doing if you want to kind of get everything you need and get all your eggs in one basket. So essentially you start off like a dungeon or an area where you can battle, and you will send your demons off to the field, and you will find them scattered across the map. Everywhere they may heal your HP, they may have found items that are required for a quest, they might just find normal items, they may find upgrade items, they might even find other demons, which is the main kind of mechanic if you want to get new demons, and it's usually based on demons that you've fought the most in that area. And sometimes that can be a massive distraction to me. I'll just go around the map and kind of like grab all of the items required for a quest. It's really handy when I have no healing items, so I'm frantically looking around for one of my demons that will offer a bit of healing. Obviously, if you want a new demon, they more than likely will want some items or some kind of prerequisite to join your party. So it definitely adds an element to the dungeon crawling. You get to see the enemies on a field. They kind of like appear in these like digitized forms. Red enemies are the kind of your basic enemies that you can go against. Purples you want to stay away unless you're very, very confident in your abilities. And yellow ones are like too weak for you. They're not worth the time, and they'll run away from you anyway. To engage in a battle, you do have the ability to kind of like slash them. You get to slash them to get like a possible one-up on them. So you'll get a few attacks in for free before the battle begins, which in these games is very helpful. So you definitely want to be doing that. And obviously if an enemy catches you off guard, they get the turns first and it's flipped over on you, and you're going to be at a major disadvantage. It kind of reminds me of Tokyo Mirage Sessions. That's another game I've played actually under that umbrella, I guess, and the way you enter battles is very similar. Again, like I mentioned, the dungeons can feel very similar, they can feel very grindy, but if you kind of push that to the side and just kind of like have the pleasure of exploiting weaknesses and hunting down items, getting more upgrades, you kind of can overlook it and enjoy it for what it is. And I think that's a good segue to kind of talk about the upgrades and what the city has to offer. So obviously you have your demon fusions where you go in and put two demons together and get a new demon, a more powerful demon, as long as it's within your level range. Also, you can do special fusions. You can just dismiss your demons straight up. You can register them to your compendium, so if you do end up losing one demon along the way for a fusion, you can spend a bit of money to get it back. And again, it's nothing new for if you've played an SMT game before when it comes to demon fusions. There's a place where you can pick up missions. This is just basically your side quests, which usually require you to go to a dungeon you've been or a dungeon you go into to collect items, defeat a certain enemy, find someone, or set up like a very small kind of side story that really has no impact in the overall story, but it kind of gives the side quest a bit of context for you to do. Again, nothing new there, and this is going to start to become a common thing as I'm going along now, saying that there's nothing new, and I feel like that's why it's led me to believe this is pretty average, because it doesn't bring anything new to the table. We also have like the comp upgrade kind of side. This is where you can upgrade your weapons to have additional attacks, additional abilities that might help you in a dungeon, like map abilities to run a little bit faster, which is really needed because I feel like the run is very, very slow in this game. Also, there are, again, just general upgrades to kind of enhance the experience. So you kind of go in a dungeon, get your upgrade materials, get that upgrade, and then you can go against higher leveled monsters or do quests that you couldn't do before. It's the same SMT loop that we've seen many, many times before. And again, it leads me to this conclusion that it's average. I'm having fun, I'm enjoying the game, but it's nothing special. Don't go into this thinking that it's going to be a be-all, end-all kind of game and it's going to have new everything. I think if you're looking for a nice SMT experience, this is gonna do the deed quite well. Now, I think that's everything I kind of want to touch on in gameplay. I can't really think of anything that's coming to mind, but there was a few issues that I had with the beginning of the game, like I've mentioned, but there's a few issues I'm still continuing to have the game. Again, running is very slow. You do need ability to kind of frequently use to run faster. I just feel like this run animation is really slow. Also, I did not like the default camera angle of like the character being slightly to the left of the screen. Changed that straight away, so I'm in the middle. Had the camera zoomed out a little bit because I just felt it was a bit too close, a bit too much on the left. Glad that that customization is there in the settings. Don't really have a problem with the repetitive nature. I do like the JRPGs for their grind, so I can't really complain about it. But again, if I was to sum up the review, which I have, it's average. It's an average game, though I am thoroughly enjoying myself. I guess before we kind of wrap up this video, I kind of want to pitch something to you guys if you've made it this far, and that's talking about Soul Hackers 1, you know, the original that was on, what was it, the SEGA Saturn I think it may have been on, and it was re-released on the DS or the 3DS. I'm not too sure with the specifics, but obviously there is a Soul Hackers 1. Can you guys let me and the people down below know if there's any links to the first game? To me, this feels like you don't need to know anything about the first game. There may be references here and there that I might have not picked up, but let the people know if there is a benefit to playing Soul Hackers 1 before this. And I think that will lead us to the end of the video. I thank you for your time if you've stuck with me this far. They are my thoughts and impressions of Soul Hackers 2 so far, and I'm going to continue to play it. I'm playing it at this moment. It's actually right in front of me, this screen. I'm just grinding through a dungeon at the moment, just kind of leveling up, trying to get some fusions together. So it's definitely a game that I'm going to continue with after this video. If you do enjoy these video reviews I've been pumping out, please hit the subscribe button. It helps out me and the channel a lot. Please let me know in the comment section below your thoughts and opinions on Soul Hackers 2. It'll be in the pinned comments, so please reply to that if you can. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.